Hi guys, how is everyone today? Happy Friday. So we've got Amar, Atiya, Jella, Majanuth, Rafat, Rathna. Okay. So any questions that you want to ask, just put them in the chat box. So please don't be afraid to ask any questions, or if there's any difficult sentences or sentence kind of structures you want to look at, just put them in there. There was a couple of things that I wanted to discuss. So relevant for both doctors and nurses. Hi, Amar. Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. It's Friday, so always good on a Friday. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at some case notes. So although these are doctors' case notes, it's going to be similar for nurses as well. So we'll just have a look. I saw these on the doctors group just the other day. So let me go through. I'll just share with you. Let me see. So just give me a sec. Well, Adobe does its job. Okay, let's have a look. All right. Oops, just a second. All right, so we'll have a look at our task here. So we're writing a referral. Dr. L. Roberts, the admitting officer, Newtown Hospital, and we've got the address. Okay. So we'll just go through the notes. I just want you to read through the notes. So we'll start off on the left and I'll move over to the right. So just go through them. Oops, sorry. That's it. Just move over, that's it. Okay, I'll move over to the right. Okay, is everyone okay with that? So what we'll do now, I want you to make sure, if you notice here in the plan, you've already spoken to Dr. Roberts. So what I'm going to do is I will turn this around and then we'll have a look at two examples. So this is the first one. Read this and I'll scroll up once I think you're ready. Okay, so that's the first example. Now have a look at this one. Okay, all right. Notice we've got something in the chat box. Hi, sir. Yeah. Hi, Rafat. Okay, so what do you think are the main differences between those two responses? What would you say are the main differences between them? So what do you think on the difference? So Sarah, yeah, the first is so precise. Amar, well, the last one did mention the details, but there's something different. So I think if we look at the first one again, they're summarizing the information. So you need to get into the habit. Oops, let's see if this. So the writer here is summarizing the most important information. They're not listing every detail. So you need to get into the habit of summarizing, okay, the main details. So the second one, the writer goes by chronological sequence in time order. Yeah. So when you do that, it means that it's going to make your letters longer. Now, I don't want you to get too hung up on the length because, you know, if you're a little bit under, a little bit over, you're not going to be penalized for that. Yeah, 180 to 200 words is just a recommendation. But you really don't want something that's going to be too long. Okay, I'll just have a look in the chat box. Let's have a look. What do we got? So, yeah, there's some grammar's not correct in the second one. Urgent referral is fine. I need to show over the past 3 years. Okay. I'm not sure where that was, but let's have a look. So here, the reason the person has used thank you for seeing is because they've already spoken to Mr. Roberts, Dr. Roberts. Yeah. So I know you can see this on a lot of examples. I probably, if it was myself, I wouldn't write that. So if this was me and I'd already spoken to the doctor, I would write, Dear Dr. Roberts, RE Mrs. May Hong. So further to our telephone conversation. And then I'm referring, and then go on to talk the above patient. Oops. And then give the details, okay? Because we've already spoken to him on the phone. Yeah, with right lower lobe pneumonia for assessment. Okay, so that's what I would do in that situation. Okay, in fact, neither letter actually refers to speaking to the doctor on the phone. Okay. So grammatically, this obviously is, there's no errors in this at all. Okay. So, but if we look at the second one, there's a couple of points that we need to pay attention to here. So here, we don't need to say lady, we just say 43 years old, because the doctor's going to know by looking at her name that that's a woman. So there's no need to repeat that. Medication. Now there's another one. You don't need to use this, presented to me. You just need to say she presented. Yeah, complaining of productive cough. Yeah. Anything else I can see in here? So we got a spelling error there. That should be scattered. Okay, so advised to stop smoking. Now, 2 days later, so we've got, unfortunately, her condition continued to deteriorate. So you don't need unfortunately, because then you're starting to personalize your letter. So if it was a friend that was sick, you might say, unfortunately, John's condition deteriorated. Here, this is it's a letter, so you need an impersonal tone. On examine, yeah. What else have we got? Crackles there, spelling error. Chest X-ray, need a capital there. Requested. Okay. And then again, they've personalized it here, regrettably. So you just start with on there. Yeah. And then everything there. So there, that should be have worsened because we're writing on the day. Okay. Everything else is okay. So it's still a good letter, but it just means it's a bit better. So I think Sarah mentioned that it was very precise. So that's because they've summarized rather than going in chronological order. Okay, so that's why. it looks very precise. Okay. Anyone have a question on that? So Manish, over the past 3 years, that would work, yeah. Okay. Oops. Anyone else have a question on that? Oops. Everyone clear? So, you know, when you're doing these letters, try and summarize basically. So you want to summarize as much as you can. Mohammed, can we use unexpectedly instead of unfortunately? No, because it might not be unexpectedly. Yeah. So I wouldn't use words like that. You could just say, however, the condition continued to deteriorate. That would be okay. Manish, previous 3 months. Let's have a look. Yes, you would. Okay, got a few. I would avoid using so, Mohammed. Accordingly is more formal. So I would go for accordingly rather than so. Okay, Rafat, yeah, regrettably, it's not appropriate. If we look here, we'll see the assessor's comments here. So overall task fulfillment 5, appropriateness of language 5. So got a 5 for everything basically. So if we look what the assessor has said. So overall task fulfillment, the candidate has generally fulfilled the task. The target reader would be informed about the situation and would form a positive impression of the writer's competence. However, the effectiveness of the letter is slightly limited by the fact that it's too long and contains more detail than required. So that means there, what they're saying is that basically the person is written in chronological order. So appropriateness of language. So the candidate has chosen Lexis and Register, which are appropriate and in line with what the target reader would expect based on my provisional diagnosis. Her condition continued to deteriorate. Her blood test revealed lapses in tone and accuracy. So there you go. Unfortunately, regrettably exhausted. They're relatively minor and do not cause strain for the reader. So, you know, it's better not to use them. You're not going to be penalized excessively if you did use them, but it is a lapse in tone because it tends to personalize your letter. So, comprehension of stimulus, the candidate demonstrates a thorough understanding of the communicative task. Yep, so they've got all the key points. They're clear and they're given an appropriately prominent positioning. Opening and final paragraphs. So they're good. Selection and transformation of the stimulus material is somewhat less effective, although actual irrelevance has been avoided. And then they tell you there, following the chronological sequence of the case notes, as in this case, led to the candidate to include more detail than is strictly necessary. However, you notice they still get a 5. And then linguistic features uses a range of grammatical structures and in a way which enhances meaning, including past perfect to show sequencing of events, passive and participles. Use of cohesive devices mostly effective with related information grouped together and conveyed concisely. On examination, she looked exhausted with a temperature of . some less sophisticated use and associated with fever misplacing of therefore, but their impact on fluency is not serious. And then basically the layout is fine. Salutations are in line with the target reader's expectations, spelling and punctuation, good level of accuracy, many sentences are error-free, and there's some errors. So they're slips rather than evidence of any systematic misunderstanding. Okay, so the writer probably would have been better to proofread once they'd finished. Okay, you have a look in the chat box. So Manish, present perfect tense without time phrase. I'm not quite sure what you mean there. What do you mean there, Manish? Well, there. Now remember, it's probably continuing up until the present. So we would say something like over the previous 3 months. Has continued to deteriorate. Okay. So we're using the present perfect there because it's still not good. Okay. So we have to describe the time period over the previous 3 months. Okay. He has had hypertension. Well, here he developed, or let's say he's been suffering from hypertension over the past 3 months. Okay. So that would be better because it's still continuing. Yeah. So that's what you would have to use there. Okay. Miss and miss. Well, both are okay. Nonya, if you're writing a letter, it's most common to use that. Yeah. Can you use Mrs. for a widow? You can if she still chooses to use Mrs., then yes, you can. You can still use Mrs. Okay. So that would work. So some women, even though their spouse has died, they still refer to themselves as Mrs. So even though she's a widow, yeah, so that would be fine. Okay. Sarah, what about has been suffering from rheumatic? That's fine. Yeah. So you notice, I think in the first one, that's what they use. Yeah. So since childhood. So that brings it up to the present. Oops. Okay. So that's fine. Right, they're coming in thick and fast now. Certificate of 30 days off work was issued. Yeah, it was issued, Mohammed. Now there's a number of things you can do here. Sorry, childhood. Let me just check. Now, years ago in the UK, if you were off sick, it was called a sick note, but I think they've changed the name. Obviously, although I've only been living back in the UK for a number of, well, years, I haven't come across this. So let me just double check. I'll check on my phone so I don't. So they call it a fit note now in the UK. It used to be called a sick note, but certificate would be okay. Yeah. So you could say the patient was given a certificate for 30 days absence work due to symptoms, something like that. Yeah, so that would just, instead of off work, this just makes it a little bit more formal. Yeah. Okay. Let me have a look. Let me just go up here. Previous 3 years. Okay, Manish. Let me just get rid of this. It depends on what the case. So he had. He had suffered no, I'm just trying to think. So, I tell you what, Manish, you put an example sentence up and I'll correct it, okay? Because I'm not quite sure what you want me to say with the previous 3 years. Because often the condition is going to be the present or present perfect, yeah? Or the past simple. So, is comma and address, is it necessary? Well, this is what we call editorial preference. So, for example, in the UK, we would put a comma. Admitting officer, Newtown Hospital. So we'd have a comma there. 1 Main Street, comma. Now after the town or city, there's a full stop. Okay. So this would be the common way of doing it in the UK, but as you can see in these examples, it's editorial preference. They don't always do this in all native English-speaking countries. For example, in America, I don't think they bother, and obviously in Australia, they don't bother with the commas. Okay. In the third paragraph, let me just check. I'll have to get rid of that. So, is that Ezra in the first one? Oh, I'm guessing the first one. Obviously the second one, let me have a look. Yeah, you've kind of lost me there. Yeah. About the which one are you talking about there? Okay. Okay. So Ezra, which I can't find that what you're talking about there after diagnosis in third paragraph. It would depend on what you're writing. He complains, Nonya, which of these are correct? He complained of heartburn, of which he took an antacid, or for which he took. For which he took would be correct there, Nonya. It's more formal. For which he took an antacid. Okay, so Mr. Barry. All right, okay. Rathna, let me have a look at this. Mr. Barry initially presented on the 12th of the 8th, 18 with complaints of fatigue and generalized weakness for the last 2 months. Yeah. He reported that he had been experiencing more bruises recently on the exposed parts of his skin, and his appetite had been getting worse gradually. On examination, there were sites with mild tenderness on the abdomen, whereas the other system findings were unremarkable. So systematic findings. For that reason, he was investigated, advised, and given guidance on smoking and alcohol withdrawal programs. Yeah. Yeah, I remember correcting that. Let me have a look. Oops. It's just trying to get this thing to stay still so I can see it. Unfortunately, I don't know why, but you can't copy and paste and put it on the board. Okay. Let's have a look. So actually, that's not too bad. I don't think, Rathna, I don't think that's too bad. There's not really much you could do to make that more concise. There's nothing really you could get rid of there. So with complaints, he reported also bruises skin. So so yeah, I don't think there's anything you need to worry about. Yeah. Yeah. The only thing that I corrected in there was systematic, but other than that, I can't exactly remember the case notes, but that's fine. It doesn't look like you could really shorten that. Yeah. Let me have a look. Manish, her husband, reported that she had experienced hallucinations for the previous 3 years. Yes, that would be okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's fine. No more. Second one, diagnosis. Okay, let me have a look. Doing some skimming here. So second one, let me have a look. Presented and so on. Amoxicillin was prescribed based on my provisional diagnosis. Yes, and she was advised to stop smoking. Yeah, the comma's necessary there. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you could probably use it or lose it. Both would be okay. Moxicillin was prescribed. Diagnosis. Yeah, I would use it. Okay, what else? They're coming thick and fast here today. Let's have a look. So, Amar, do we need to leave one space after the address? Yes. So what I would do, Amar, is just like these examples. It just means that your paragraphing is very clear if you do that. So this is what we would usually do. So we leave a space. So you notice they've got the date above the address here. The date could also go there below. I can't get it below, in between those two. So both would be okay. So yeah, if you're leaving spaces, it just means your paragraphing is very clear. So you notice a space between paragraphs. So yeah, do that. Always good. Main, yes, that's fine. That's no problem, Israel. Not a problem. You can do that. Yeah. So that's perfectly acceptable. Let's have a look. Okay. What else have we got? Regrettably, on the last line, I think it's confusing me. Can you please explain? Yes. Okay, so oops. So if we look at this here, so it's not just regrettably so, it's also unfortunately. So what I mean is these personalize the letter. Personalize. The same as if you've got a lot of me or I in the letter. Yeah. So remember, you're supposed to be writing in a formal tone. So an impersonal tone, which impersonal means you have no relationship or connection of emotions with a person. So obviously you have a professional relationship with the person, but regrettably here, or unfortunately, is starting to personalize. So it's what we call a lapse in tone. It's not formal tone. So that's why that's the problem. Yeah. Okay. Punctuation. Okay, Nonya, Isra. Okay. Yes, Ratna, yeah, I did tell you to be more concise. I think I would have to have a look at the whole letter. Yeah. So, and with the power of modern technology, so we'll just quickly do that. Because I'd need to see the whole thing. So just give me a minute. See if we can get it. Okay. Just a second. I think what you'd written though there was okay. Let's have a look. It's just loading. This should be it. Ah, right. So let me share this with you, okay? Just a second. Oops, lost that. Thing's gone crazy. Right. Right. Let me share this. Okay. I'll close off the chat box for now. So the purpose, so you don't need this. That's irrelevant. And you don't really need to repeat his age because we've got it there. Okay. So we're talking about liver problems here. Yeah. That's the purpose. You want further investigations. Okay. So hepatitis could be relevant, and then liver cancer is relevant. So this is okay. So you could, so you could just say, is a smoker 15 to 20 cigarettes per day. You don't need to really go into too much. You could just say, he also drinks more than 15 units per week, or whatever the units are now. Yeah. You could shorten this a little bit. Yeah. This, I think, is okay. And then that is pretty much okay. So it's not massively long. Yeah, just a few areas you could lose some of the information. Okay. So just to be a little bit more concise. So let me just have a look. Oh, can't seem to get the comments up. So, I mean, it wasn't bad, particularly. For some reason, let's scroll down. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So just a little more concise. Yeah. So still a 4, still a good score. Yeah. So just a few things you could change. Okay, let me go back to the chat box. Let me see if I can find it on Facebook. Let me just go back to discussion. And see if I can find it. Let me see now. I'm not sure if I'll find it, but I'll quickly go through. So the purposes of the letter. Let's have a look. Maybe this is it. Let's have a look. I might not be able to find it, but what I'll do is maybe we can start off the next class with that. Because the case notes list a number of different things, but you have to remember what your task is. So you're only reporting the relevant detail, rather than including some of the stuff that isn't. It's not that one. Just trying to quickly look through the comments. I can't find it at the moment, but there is a number of health problems in there. So my advice would be stick to the purpose of the letter, really, because you may not have to report it. Yeah. Manish, patient was suicidal for a short period of time. You could say that. It's not that it's incorrect. Yeah. The patient was suicidal for a short period of time over the past 3 years. It would probably, in that situation, it would probably be better to use a date. Yeah. Is it necessary to name the medications? Yes, it is. Because obviously the reader might need to know what medications the person is on and if there's been any adjustment to the medication that the patient takes. So you have got to mention them. Yeah. Now, a lot of people take the easy way out and just say a list of medication is attached to the letter. So I would mention the ones that are most significant because the target reader may need to know what medications the person has been on, what has worked, what hasn't worked, what has changed, the dosage, has it gone up, has it gone down, okay? So very important. Okay, guys, so that's it for now. If you're around this evening, I will go through something much enough with the medical history where there's more than 3 conditions. I'll have to try and search that one out. Okay, guys, if I don't see you later on, I'll see you during the week and have a good weekend. Bye for now.